Welcome to the Minecraft Iceberg. This is a massive video and a massive undertaking that I took. This is mainly meant to be enjoyed as an audio journey while you complete some form of other tasks or while you play your favorite video game in the background. While there will be some form of visual accompaniment throughout the length of this entire video, I would highly suggest that you would find something else to keep you visually entertained while you listen to this in the background. This video is also segmented into video chapters to allow you to watch layer by layer at a time, to allow you to have breaks instead of having to watch a full 1 hour and 30-minute video in one full session. Either way, I honestly hope that you do end up enjoying this, and I'll see you guys at the end. Layer 1, or the tip of the iceberg. Now we start off with the first layer with all the information that a majority of people who have played Minecraft for at least a year or two probably already know about. Collection of different types of Easter eggs within the game, as well as some things from the past that have stuck around the name of Minecraft itself. And so most of this layer should be already known to you guys, but of course we're still going to break it down, so let's go over it. Herobrine. The classic creepypasta of an entity that claimed to be Notch's dead brother. The first image of him was posted on 4chan's level board, while the first video hoax was created by Briarcraft streamer Copeland. Herobrine has since been accepted by both the community as well as Mojang themselves, as there would be appearing in the promotional art of the game, a book in the 10th anniversary world, and even in patch notes where he is jokingly removed in every update. We'll be seeing more of Herobrine in the lower layers. The Farlands. Terrain generation bugs that started at 12,550,821 blocks from spawn, as a result of an overflow error from the fractal noise Minecraft uses to create terrain. There are multiple types of Farlands. Edge Farlands, Corner Farlands, Sky Grid, Stripe Lands, though the Edge Farlands are the most famous. Players experience multiple other bugs at these high differences, ranging from jitteriness when passing through blocks. In Beta 1.8, the Farlands were removed due to a change in the world generation, and in Release 1.8, a world border was added to the game instead. Disc 11. A broken music disc with creepy audio that's way different from all the other discs. The sound at the end is theorized to be from either an Enderman or simply a scratch on the disc. Disc 13 most likely contains the other half of the story too, with the sounds of arrows being fired as well as a creeper explosion at the end. Name tag Easter eggs. Dinnerbone and Grum turns mobs upside down. Jeb _ gives sheep rainbow wool, and Toast gives the rabbits the appearance of an ex-Y's in 420's girlfriend's missing rabbit. Now of course this is only a little thing, but these little Easter eggs are always cool little oddities in the Minecraft universe. The Creeper's origins. While Notch was trying to make the model for a pig, he accidentally swapped the height and the length values for the body, making the resulting mob taller than it was wide. Notch was also inspired by this odd model and then went on to make the creeper. Also see grey prototype creepers later within the iceberg itself. Creepers are plants. A popular theory that creepers are plants, hence why they are green, and the reason they explode is to spread their spores. The official mobstery also reveals that creepers are made of moss, only adding on to this potential theory that people have been making for years. End credits poem. A message that appears after going through the exit portal once you kill the Ender Dragon. It is written by Julian Gore and involves two speakers talking about the player's accomplishments, as well as comparing the long dream of life to the short dream of a game. They also go over so many other existential crisis-like things within the poem at the end. The poem is a long one, but it's definitely worth a read at least once. Never portal in the tutorial logo. The legacy console editions of Minecraft contain tutorial worlds that help players learn the basics of the game. This world was utterly revamped at a certain point in time years ago, but in the original worlds, they contained a giant Minecraft logo in the sky, and if you successfully make it up to it and break to inside the logo itself, it would reveal a secret Nether portal. This is the end of the first layer. It only gets more interesting and maybe creepier from here. The second layer of the iceberg. Mince Raft. The title screen has a 1 in 10,000 chance of displaying Mince Raft instead of Minecraft. It's one of those funny little Easter eggs that not everyone's ever going to actually see in their time of playing Minecraft. I've only ever encountered it on one very rare occasion, and it's honestly something you may not even notice when it happens, unless you're watching for it, of course. Cave game. The very first version of the game came only with grass and cobblestone blocks, which were taken from Ruby Dog, Notch's earlier game. This version of the game was never released to the public, and was only shown off in videos which are censored in most countries for unknown reasons. See pre-classic censored videos. This version of the game, which existed during pre-classic, was called Cave Game because it was only intended to be a test for cave generation. The Ender Dragon is a female. The Ender Dragon drops an egg when killed, which is pretty ironic when you think about it, because that only leads to the possibility that the Ender Dragon is either unsexed with both genitalia and able to asexually reproduce, or a female. The dimension layers. Though it's never actually shown in-game itself, it's widely accepted that the Nether exists below the overworld, while the end is above it. In fact, in the official Minecraft World Beyond poster, art puts the end above the overworld and the Nether at the bottom, which could lead to the possible explanation of the bedrock roof that is present in the Nether. The Nether Reactor. Before Pocket Edition had an actual Nether, before phones were able to have the capacity to even play with a multi-dimension game, you had to create a structure called a Nether Reactor in order to generate a Nether Spire, inside of which were Nether-related blocks, as well as zombie pigmen and glowing obsidian. All of this would eventually be removed when an actual version of the Nether made it over to Pocket Edition via the addition of the Bedrock version of Minecraft in its early days. Remember when I first started playing Minecraft, I originally played on the Pocket Edition version of the game released on the iPod Touch version 4 back in 2012. Remember when I first discovered how the Nether in the Pocket Edition version of the game was so much different in comparison to the actual version of the game that I'd seen everywhere on YouTube. Herobrine is Notch's brother. One popular theory for Herobrine is that he's actually Notch's dead brother, somehow embedded into the game. The theory originated as a result of the anonymous creator of the original Herobrine creepypasta claiming to have found this information through an interview with Notch himself. In reality, Notch never had a brother. The Desert Wells. And an incredibly rare structure that generates in desert biomes, even if the generate structures option is disabled from the menu of the world settings. It is unknown why these wells were even created within the game in the first place, let alone why they were created so far away from normal structures that would be generated within the game. 9 times out of 10 when you discover one of these in Minecraft, there tends to be no structures nearby whatsoever. Closest village is hundreds of blocks away. A desert temple may not even exist in the area, and sometimes you might be in a small patch of desert that has a random well surrounded by plains or some other biome that is warm. Abandoned villages. In Java Edition, abandoned villages, aka zombie villages, have a 2% of generating, with cobwebs replacing missing blocks, glass windows being broken, missing doors, and zombie villages in the place of actual ones, as well as missing torches and many other key features that make a village a village. In Bedrock, however, the percentage seems to be around 25 to 30%. Another interesting story I have for this one is I've encountered I think about 4 different zombie villages in like the past 2 years of playing this game. The versions of the villages that were added in within the 1.14 update are definitely some brilliant things to come across. Because they're exactly that. They are abandoned villages that are just broken, run down, cobwebs everywhere, doors missing, windows non-existing, and then zombie villages just crowding the place almost every single turn you take. The Igloo Basement. 50% of all igloos have a trapdoor leading to a dungeon, which there is basically a tutorial for zombie villager conversion can be found. Of course, this is one of those things where I feel like it'd be safe to assume that almost all of you guys have at least encountered maybe once or twice in your explorations of Minecraft, especially when moving through tundra biomes, as igloos are kind of common in amongst those biomes themselves. Education Edition of Minecraft. There is a version of Minecraft intended for educational use, containing features that are not currently present in the Java or Bedrock versions. This version of Minecraft is built off of the backbone network of Bedrock Edition, with all these extra features. These features are such as cameras, chalkboards, elements, and programmable agents, and so much more to explore. Out of all the things on this list so far, I would definitely encourage you to take an exploration throughout an education edition of Minecraft, as there is definitely a lot of fun that can be had when exploring this version of the game. Infiniminer Inspiration. Infiniminer is an open source sandbox game released on April 29th, 2009, and is most likely the main source that inspired Notch to create his own version of the game about a month later on. Nether portals were actually made for Enderman. One of the biggest key things about the original Nether portal design was the fact that they were always 3 blocks high, at least until an update a couple of years ago allowing you to make custom sized portals, and they still work in that configuration. But the traditional Nether portal is a 3 blocks tall, 2 blocks wide beast, and considering that the only mob that are 3 blocks high in the game is the Enderman, and since the Enderman has a black and purple color scheme, as well as a habit of teleporting around the place, it makes sense that the Nether portals were originally designed for Endermen to use, potentially to escape the overworld, and maybe the Ender Dragon when he entered the overworld from the End Dimension. This is maybe where rogue Endermen go when they don't want to be in the End nor the overworld. This might also explain why the Warped Forests have so many Endermen in amongst them. Enchantment text. The font used for the enchanting table is the standard galactic alphabet, but the actual phrases themselves are complete and utter nonsense. The words are taken randomly from the following set of words: animal, air, ball, beast, barbaretta, bless, cold, creature, Cthulhu, cube, curse, darkness, demon, destroy, dry, earth, elder, elemental, ember biggin, enchanted, fontaine, baguette, fiddle, fire, free, fresh, galvanize, grow, hot, humid, ignite, imbue, inside, kalactu, light limited, mental, regnor, nicotron, and of Allah, singaloo, physical, range, rife, scrolls, self, shorten, shrink, snuff, sphere, spirit, stale, stretch, the, towards, twist, undead, water, wet, wigningula, XYZZY. Zombified piglin green blood. When zombie pigmen were first created by Xenophobia, they had red blood. This was later changed to green blood since Notch found it too gory to be within the game of Minecraft. Some species of spiders have green blood, so could zombie pigmen actually be part spider? Likely not. Hermaphrodite mobs. Minecraft animals often have traits from both sexes in the same texture and model. Cows have horns and udders, chickens have red wattles like a rooster but lay eggs like a hen, etc. Steve was also supposed to be a genderless human, even though the skin has a beard, and Alex was later added as a female variant for Steam. Mob lightning conversions. When struck by lightning, villagers become witches, creepers become supercharged creepers, pigs become zombified piglins, and mushrooms switch between red and brown variants. Feeding parrots cookies. When parrots were first added, they were attracted to cookies, as a reference to the famous Polly wants a cracker saying. But in reality, chocolate is toxic to parrots, and after this was brought up to Mojang, the cookie feeding mechanic was changed, such as that feeding just a single cookie to a parrot would instantly kill it. Zombie villager conversion. Players can cure a zombie villager by feeding it a golden apple when it's underneath the effects of a weakness potion. The conversion time can take anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. A tutorial for this can be found underneath some igloo structures. Cured villagers will always have considerable discounts on their trades as a way of saying thanks. This, of course, can be exploited by either A, sharing this villager around and making sure he gossips with all the other villagers, or even purposely getting the villagers converted to a zombie villager and converting them back. The void below the overworld. Right below bedrock in the overworld is an infinite expanse of the void. It most likely isn't canon in the Minecraft lore, as it probably only exists due to how a Minecraft world can only go down so far, in such a similar manner towards the end. Some other mods for Minecraft has transformed the underside of the bedrock layer into the nether itself, and people have added mods such as the ether to add a world above the main Minecraft overworld itself. The killer rabbit. For only a couple of snapshots in 1.8, the killer rabbit was added as a naturally spawning mob with a 1 in 1,000 chance of spawning. It was later reduced to 1 in 2,500 chance before only being able to be spawned with the summon rabbit type 99 command. Pack.png. The default icon for resource packs, showing a Minecraft hill. Sal C1 popularized the search for the seed the hill was taken from, and a volunteer project, Minecraft at Home, found the seed to be 32, 57, 84, 03, 88, 50, 49, 37, 87. Swamp and jungle villages. Even though jungles and swamps villages don't generate naturally, villagers have their own special skins when spawned in these biomes, which can only be seen via spawn eggs, breeding, or curing a zombie villager in these biomes. There's always a potentiality in the future that when these biomes ever get remade or redone, that villages may be generated within these biomes themselves in the future. The title screen world. Minecraft world found in the pre-1.13 title screen panorama comes from an existing seed, and the volunteer project Minecraft at Home also found the seed to be 21, 51, 90, 15, 53, 96, 83, 52, 74, 5. Of course I'll have this on screen for you guys. Painting origins. 25 of the paintings found in Minecraft are actually edited versions of real paintings by Christopher Zetterstrand. In fact, he was the one that created the Minecraft versions too. But the Wither painting is a complete original. Skeleton horse traps. An event that can happen rarely during thunderstorms. At first, only a single skeleton horse is spawned from a distance, but upon getting closer, the lightning strikes down on the horse, and 4 skeleton horsemen are summoned, a possible reference to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. These skeletons have enchanted bows and helmets. Unlike regular horses, skeleton horses don't drown underwater. This is mainly because they don't have any lungs, as they're mainly just a skeleton body. The Illusioners. An unused illager that can only be spawned with the summon command. It mainly uses a bow to attack the player, but it can also use one of 2 spells. One that blinds the player temporarily, and one that spawns multiple false duplicates of itself to protect itself. Secret languages. The language manual of Minecraft has 5 Easter egg languages: Pirate Speak, Lowcat, Shakespearean English, English, and English Upside Down. In addition, 4 co-langs are also added: Star Trek Klingon language, Trishkin Hall, one of the Lord of the Rings Ovish languages, Quenya, Elsperado, and Logibran, made by the Logical Language Group. I totally just butchered most of those, I apologize for that. The Zoglin. A variant of the Hoglin that is created when it enters a dimension other than the Nether. Zoglins will attack almost any entity, including Armistan, though with the exception of creepers and other Zoglins. Much like Hoglins, Piglins will also turn into zombified piglins when they enter the overworld or the end. Zoglins won't attack a creeper in the same vein that wolves won't attack a creeper, mainly due to Minecraft Mojang's main philosophy of any punishment the player receives will be due to the player's fault, and making other mobs being able to attack creepers can cause situations where creepers explode and destroy something without ever having the player going anywhere near close to the creeper itself. The Sky Dimension. A planned dimension for the beta 1.8 adventure update intended to be the complete opposite of the Nether, both thematically and in terms of terrain. The Sky Dimension was scrapped, however, and was later replaced with the End Dimension. This is probably where the inspiration for the Ether Dimension in the Ether mod probably came from. Notch's Twitter. Notch sometimes used his Twitter account to share some pretty controversial opinions on race, gender, and sexuality, even endorsing the QAnon conspiracy. On August 28, 2020, he made a promise with Game Maker's Toolkit that he will delete his Twitter account if they stop mentioning politics on his channel. He followed through with his promise and deleted his account, though he ultimately reactivated it on the September the 22nd. Gas Sounds Origins. C418 confirmed that the sound of the gas cries are actually a recording of his pet cat, which makes the noise when disturbed. Honestly, this is just a funny piece of trivia, the fact that the gas noise that everyone hates and all that, oh god damn, it's one of those bitch ass things, is just a cat sound. Pretty cool if you ask me. Netherrack is made of flesh. A theory that has always been around for almost as long as the Nether has been around for is that Netherrack is made of pure flesh. Pretty likely seeing how much the original texture looks like a muscle tissue, as well as the fact that the Nether is already a pretty hellish themed dimension, it's not too much of a far-fetched to assume that the most common block within this dimension is also flesh. Brown mushroom. A rare variant of the mushroom, usually created when a red mushroom is struck by lightning, it also has a 1 in 1024 chance of being created through breeding 2 red mushrooms. Using a flower on a brown mushroom lets it reproduce a suspicious true inbred with the potion effect of the next time it's milked with a bowl. This of course is replicatable with many different types of flowers, giving you many different types of potion effects as a result. Last but not least for the second layer, Nether Chicken Jockey. A baby zombified piglin has a 5% chance of riding a chicken when spawned, meaning each zombified piglin spawned there is a mere 0.25% chance of becoming a chicken jockey. This is the only way that chickens can spawn naturally in the nether, and can also explain why your zombie piglin farm on occasion will produce chicken. That is the end of the second layer. Let's swim further down the iceberg. The third layer of the Minecraft iceberg. Gears. Gears were intended to be an item using mechanisms, much like redstone is currently, but it was never given any functionality. They had the ability to be placed on walls. It only existed from InDev 0.31 to alpha version 1.01 when redstone dust was added to replace it. The Herobrine Shrine. A structure a player could make out of a block of lit netherite surrounded by redstone torches and gold blocks that could supposedly summon Herobrine. There are a lot of different ideas with the Herobrine stuff, and each one gets a little deeper into the layers of an iceberg, each one of them being more obscure and more weird of a reference than the last, and there's a few more to go still. How did we get here? Now this third layer thing here is a little bit more of a well-known thing. I'm pretty sure most people have heard of that weird advancement that you can get in Minecraft that requires you to actually get all of the potion status effects that are available in the game. Now for the longest time this was technically more of a hidden thing, and it's still a hidden advancement, but just it's so well covered by a lot of different Minecraft channels that I'm pretty sure everyone knows about it by now. But I guess the better question is, have you actually gotten the advancement anytime for yourself before? If not, let's go through what you need to get it. This includes absorption, bad omen, blindness, conduit power, dolphin's grace, fire resistance, glowing, haste, hero of the village, hunger, invisibility, jump boost, levitation, mining fatigue, nausea, night vision, poison, regeneration, resistance, slow falling, slowness, speed, strength, water breathing, weakness, and wither. And each time a new status effect is added in a new update, that gets added to the never-ending list of status effects you need to get all at one time in order to get this achievement. Endermen are actually Farlanders. On July 30th, 2011, people on 4chan started a petition for Endermen to be renamed to Farlanders instead, as a reference to the Farlands. See the Farlands from earlier? Notch then joked that instead of calling Endermen Farlanders, the Farlands should be renamed to the End instead. Ironically, that's how the name for the End came to be. The Farlanders mod added on to this discussion. Their story proposed that the Endermen used to live peacefully in the Farlands before it was taken to them, forcing the inhabitants to trek across dimensions, seeking shelter before settling in the end. Ultimately, this theory has always had some form of merit to it, mainly due to the fact that the Ender Dragon attacks Endermen, and Endermen will always fight the Ender Dragon when you do, ironically, despite the Ender Dragon being called the Ender Dragon, being a black beast with purple eyes, just like the Endermen are themselves. They seemingly hate it. Fire Chainmail. Chainmail armor has been an armor that has been ultimately unattainable aside from mob drops when mobs spawn with them for the longest time. Originally though, when chainmail first came to exist, it could be attained by crafting a recipe using fire blocks in a crafting table. Now of course this was a creative only crafting recipe, as well as the fact you needed commands to get the fire block as an item in the first place, which is pretty ironic to the fact that it used to be craftable ages ago. Now it's only obtainable via mob drops by mobs that spawn with chainmail or via villager trading. Hopefully one day eventually they'll add in a recipe to actually craft it, especially considering they added chains in 1.16. Johnny. Now, a more obscure name change and name tagging a mob thing that exists in Minecraft itself is renaming a Vindicator to Johnny. When you rename a Vindicator to Johnny, it causes it to attack every other mob in sight with the exception of ghasts and other illagers. This is a reference to Here's Johnny, scene from The Shining, where Jack Tourette's drops down a door with an axe. A red dragon. A planned mob that Notch intended to release alongside the Ender Dragon as an overworld boss mob, the Red Dragon was never implemented. However, Dinnerbone has said in the past that the dragon may be added to Minecraft in a later update, though there aren't any plans to do so anytime soon, meaning that there is ideas for other potential overworld bosses coming in the future, but by the looks of things, our overworld boss that's coming soon is gonna be the Warden from the Deep Dark Underground. Maybe eventually there will be some form of Red Dragon that can form to exist, maybe after you've killed the Ender Dragon, and after the Ender Egg gets brought to the overworld, maybe it hatches and spawns a red dragon that will come out and start attacking you and you have to kill it, which would be a pretty cool idea. Like, some of these third layer stuff is something that would be pretty interesting to add into Minecraft itself. Anyway, let's continue. Zombie horses. Along with the skeleton horses we mentioned earlier, an unused zombie variant of the horse was also added to Minecraft in the 1.16.1 update. Much like skeleton horses, zombie horses don't drown underwater because they're already dead, which to this day still remains to be an unused asset in Minecraft, just like so many other things. Flying machines. Now, this is something that I'm guessing a few people probably know about, especially if you're into the redstone side of things. But anyway, flying machines are redstone mechanisms that use pistons, slime blocks, and redstone blocks in order to create a structure that can move across the sky indefinitely. One of the most common engines used involves having a regular piston push the structure forward, then have a sticky piston push a slime block backwards in order to retrieve the piston, and then start the cycle over again through the use of redstone block. A stunned Enderman. A funny little quirk slash feature of Minecraft is if you continue to stare at an Enderman even after they've become aggro at you, they'll temporarily lose the ability to move or teleport, making them much easier to actually attack, kill, and do all the rest of it, which is pretty funny to think about it when you think a little further into that. And if you just catch them in the eyes just one little second, they'll be pissed off at you, but if you stay staring at their eyes long enough, they get stunned because they failed a staring contest. A luck potion. A potion that gives you the luck status effect, which isn't included in the How Did We Get Here achievement, but it also increases the chances of getting better items from loot tables that use a quality score. So far, only fishing gives loot items to this score. A Luck of the Sea fishing rod passively increases the player luck when in use, and the luck buff is just an unused status effect within the game itself. Green Steve. A somewhat popular creepypasta that involves the green version of Steve attacking a player in the desert temple after they noticed the TNT trap didn't go off. According to the story, a developer snuck Green Steve into the game against the refusal of the other devs. The Green Steve creepypasta led to a few other spin-offs, including but not limited to Red Steve and Blue Steve, a reference to the RGB color scheme used in most electronic displays. There are some that just still use a black and white screen. If you dig hard enough, don't at me on that one. Missing texture block. In Java Edition, when the game detects a block with an invalid ID, often a result of switching between versions where blocks are removed or have yet to be added, their texture is replaced with a purple and black checkerboard pattern. In Bedrock Edition, blocks are instead replaced by the info update block, a dirt block with the word update written on all 6 sides. The Nether ceiling. A flat expanse of land located just above the bedrock ceiling of the Nether. Though you can't physically break through the bedrock directly, you can phase through the ceiling by throwing an ender pearl into a small gap or a stair block, or pushing a minecart via piston into the ceiling. The lack of obstacles above the ceiling make it a great way for players to cross huge distances easily, since 1 block traveled in the Nether is 8 blocks in the overworld. This huge empty canvas above the Nether itself also makes for some amazing farm opportunities. If you just go up 100 blocks above the roof, you suddenly have this big area where you can make a platform and direct the spawning of the mobs that would normally spawn in the Nether, since they won't be spawning in the actual Nether down below itself. Woo-loo-loo-loo. Evokers have an Easter egg that causes them to change the color of blue sheep to red by shouting Wooloo. This is a reference to the Prius conversion ability in Age of Empires, which allowed their army to gain control of an opponent's user, thus having them switch sides. You know, this is always a fun magic trick to show to some of your friends who have no idea that this is an Easter egg within the game itself, by let's say saying, hey, change this sheep to the color blue, and if you can make it stay on blue for 5 minutes, you get free some big reward that makes them think like, oh my god, this is a no-brainer, I may as well do it. Then they get fooled into a false security where the evoker suddenly turns the sheep back to a red color, which is always a funny reaction every time you do it. Item duplication. Minecraft has had multiple item duplication glitches in its history, some of the most famous exploits of which included placing a door next to a cactus on top of a block of sand in order to duplicate the door, and then placing an item onto a chest, then back out, then completely exiting out of the game without saving in order to get double of what you took out. Another weird exploit that was ultimately well known at the time was an exploit to do with shulker boxes, which, with using shulker boxes in some of the original updates, allowed you to duplicate items that are within the shulker boxes. Testificates. For a brief time in Beta 1.9 release, when villagers were first originally added, they all had the name Testificate above their heads. So if you've ever wondered why some of your favorite YouTubers call villagers by that name, here's your pretty big answer why. Raspberry Pi Edition. The Raspberry Pi is a small computer mainly used for computer science and programming. Mojang released a free version of Minecraft for it with only a limited number of features since it's based on the Alpha Pocket Edition versions. However, this version also comes with a Python programming interface, allowing players to add their own code to manipulate the actual game itself. Super secret settings. Until 1.19, there used to be a button in the options menu that allowed you to toggle between 24 different types of filters, some of which are obtainable by spectating from the viewpoint of certain mobs. Notch drops apples. From in-dev until 1.3.1, any player with the name Notch dropped an apple when killed. Since it wasn't until the 1.8 pre-release that apples could actually be found in the world, and even then only in stronghold chests, this used to be the only way to actually obtain apples. Honestly, that's pretty funny to the fact that you had to kill Notch himself to get any apples in Minecraft at a point in time. A quiver. An unused item that could have been used to store multiple stacks of arrows in one inventory slot. Only the texture for this item existed, and even that was removed with the 1.9 combat update. Honestly, I remember like ages and ages ago when they were doing some update teasers for an update that I forgot even exists. Like I forget like what update it was, but ages ago they were showing off the quiver a long time ago, but they never actually implemented it in any way, shape or form, which is a very interesting thing to say the least. Undead Giants. An unused mob that's essentially a 12 block high zombie, implying the actual giants once roamed the Minecraft world, has been used in many different things outside of the main Minecraft game itself. One of the biggest examples of which that have used this in the past is a mod named Lucky Blocks. When you destroy a negative block, there's a potentiality that you might spawn a giant zombie who hurts like hell. Unused pigmen. Before villagers were a thing, Minecraft user McLee suggested using pigmen, an unzombified variant, to populate villages. McLee was given a bacon cape for his idea, but it was later removed after other people asked for capes too. I'm gonna be honest here, most people are going to ask for capes in the first place, and I'm pretty sure people are still currently asking for capes nowadays since the whole old Minecraft Minecon ones that are no longer gettable or attainable for anyone ever again because Minecon's no longer a thing. It's now just Minecon Live. Minecraft. A 2D top-down version of Minecraft crafted in 2 days for Ludum Dare in 2011. I somehow butchered 2 words at once, but it still makes for a funny meme regardless. Hey, let's have at it. Endermites are parasites. Ender pearls may not be the Enderman's eyes, but rather eggs from which Endermite larvae hatch, hence why pearls have a small chance of spawning them when they're thrown. These Endermites may have infected humans traveling to the end for the first time, leading to the corrupted Endermen they are today. There's a lot of different theories when it comes to how Endermen came to exist in the first place, and the biggest one is the fact that they're probably just humans that spent too much time in the end. One of the biggest things that's always supported this theory, especially after the combat update in 1.9, is the end cities that exist in the outer far ends that may lead to the potentiality that humans or some form of a human used to live in the end cities once upon a time. Mobs afraid of cats. One of the most interesting things when it comes to Minecraft is why phantoms and creepers are afraid of cats. Is there some form of unknown history to cats and those two mobs in particular that causes them to be scared of a goddamn cat? It's a very interesting thing if you think about potential lore stories and things along those lines, but either way, we move on. Aquatic tutorial decayed ruins. Underneath the icebergs in the 1.13 aquatic tutorial world were the ruins of the previous tutorial world, where you can find a secret chest with a music disc. Honestly, I find it to be a pretty interesting Easter egg just to have in one of the newer tutorial worlds, to have like old flooded ruins of the old tutorial world. Enderman backwards speech. Enderman voice clips are actually distorted and reversed versions of hi, hello, what's up, what the, and look for the eye, which is always an interesting thing. When I first found out about it, it was something else, and you don't quite catch it at first, you don't notice this, but the second you know, you won't ever unhear it, so listen. The Hovering Inferno. An upgraded version of the Blaze, with orbiting body parts acting as shields as well as a powerful shockwave attack. The Hovering Inferno, aka Mob D, was a part of the mob vote on November 18th, 2017, along with Mob A, the monster of the ocean depths, Mob B, the monster of the night skies, and Mob C, the Great Hunger. This mob unfortunately lost the vote to Mob B, which was later renamed to the Phantom. Which honestly, out of all the mobs we could have voted for, why did it have to be the Phantom? I honestly thought that the Monster of the Ocean or the Hovering Inferno were actually the coolest looking mobs out of the four. But hey, phantoms from the skies that will force you to go to bed even if you don't want to, just because they're flipping annoying as hell. They're not deadly, they're just annoying. 3D Angloglyph. An option that applied a red and blue 3D filter to the screen, allowing you to play with 3D glasses on. It was removed in 1.13. I honestly remember playing with this option like ages ago. I'm pretty sure 1.2.9. I remember that being one of my earlier Minecraft experiences before they actually sorted out the creative inventory, before emeralds, before withers and things along those lines were actually added to the game. I remember making this weird and wacky world that I ended up trying to play around with the 3D glasses thing in and of itself. MD3 models. A model format created by ID Software. Beast Boy Steve, Black Steve, and Raina were MD3 models created by a former Mojang artist, Doc, to use as a test during InDev. Models from the game Quake were also used since they had the MD3 format as well. After Doc left, the models were scrapped. Cancelled Minecon 2014. Once it was announced on March 30th, 2014 that Minecon would be held in Europe, on August 21st, Val Bleur, Chief Operating Officer of Mojang, stated that Minecon 2014 will be cancelled and will instead take place in spring of 2015. The reasons for this cancellation are still unknown. I feel like this is going to be one of those things that we'll never actually have any form of answer for on why it was cancelled. It might honestly just stay a mystery forever. Entity_303. A creepypasta about a former Mojang employee that was fired and wanted revenge. He recruited a team of hackers to corrupt worlds and rename files to include 303 as a marker. According to the story, 1 in 40 players were affected by the hacks. The creepypasta led to numerous spin-offs, including Entity 0. Null. A creepypasta claiming that Herobrine was actually someone trying to warn players about a much more dangerous threat, a pure black entity named Null. And that is all for the third layer. Are you ready to move on to a layer that might get a little bit more creepy potentially? Anyway, let's move on. Welcome to the fourth layer of the iceberg. You ready to continue on with this? Let's go. Missing no splash. If you delete every splash text in the splashes.txt files, the Minecraft splash text will revert to missing no. This feature was later removed in modern versions of the game, however. This is, of course, in reference to one of the most well-known and most talked about glitches in gaming history, the missing no glitch from the original Pokemon game. Essentially, for those who don't understand what that one is or are too young to understand, essentially, back in the original games of Pokemon, essentially it would coincide with one of the glitches in the original game which allowed you to get some easy high-level Pokemon, but on occasion, a missing no would spawn instead. 9 times out of 10, what would end up happening is your game would ultimately crash before the end of the encounter, breaking your game and having to go back from your previous save, as the last one might have gotten corrupted. Void Fog. Until 1.8, Void Fog would decrease the distance you can see, getting thicker the further down you would go, starting at Y level equals 17. The fog was removed due to performance issues. You know, I've got an interesting story about this one, like from ages ago, essentially, and there's an Australian show called Good Games Spawn Point, and essentially ages ago when they originally first reviewed Minecraft, they also gave out this massive Minecraft world that they all worked on for players and viewers of the show to actually play through. Essentially, I went down to the void area that they had opened up, the big underground mining area that they had in the world, and I pretty much got lost in there just due to the fog. Void Fog wasn't fun in its original state. I'm kinda glad it doesn't exist. It was a cool thing and cool aesthetic, but you can get easily lost and screwed for good. Dragon Egg Origins. You know, I'm only including this one because it's got such a funny, like, explanation in this document. Who fucked that dragon? You know what, that's a pretty good question. I wish we had some form of explanation, but unfortunately we don't. The egg just exists, I guess. Mob's perspective filters. In spectator mode, players have the ability to see through the eyes of entities, including armor stands. Pretty interesting, that one, that's for sure. It's almost like armor stands don't have any eyes, but either way. Certain mobs can apply filters to your screen while being looked through. An Enderman's version inverts and slightly desaturates colors. Creepers have a green tint, and spiders have eye screens where each of the eyes would go. Try and beat Minecraft by having the spider perspective filter on, you know? That's gonna be a fun challenge to see someone attempt to do in the future. Ballistic. A hidden advancement that requires you to shoot 5 unique mobs with a single crossbow shot. Not gonna lie, this is definitely one of those weird ones that I don't think I've ever seen anyone ever do, but it just exists. Abandoned strongholds. Strongholds are usually built to protect against attacks, so the end portals used to be guarded before being seemingly abandoned. The Warden may have been a golem-esque guardian for these strongholds due to its name as well as its color scheme matching that of the end portal frame. Plausible theory for why these structures were abandoned is that everything just went through to the other side, seeing how there is no humans in the end though. It could definitely be a bit potentially questionable. The Ender Dragon enslaved Enderman. A theory claiming that the Ender Dragon is a ruthless dictator rather than the leader of the Endermen. For one, the End initially doesn't have an exit. One can enter the End, but until the dragon is defeated, they cannot leave, forcing them to die or potentially become turned into an Enderman themselves. Enderman eyes were originally green before being changed to purple, so one could argue that an in-game reason for the change is due to the Ender Dragon mind controlling the Enderman, even though the Alakai challenge happened 2 months before the dragon was added. In addition, slaying the dragon grants you the advancement Free the End, yet another piece of the evidence suggests the Endermen were enslaved under the dragon's rule. It's likely that the Warped Forest help sounds are also the result of Endermen that can have somehow escaped the End through all odds and are now trying to find anyone that can put a stop to their race's suffering. Endermen are corrupted humans. A theory that humans don't exist in the Minecraft world because they've all been turned into Endermen. The Enderman backwards speech possibly supports the theory as well. How they became Endermen in the first place, however, is yet another question. They may simply have been turned into them while in the end, much like piglins in the overworld become zombie piglins. They could have also been corrupted by another mob, such as Endermites, or simply mutated from eating too many Chorus fruits, permanently gaining the ability to teleport. Disc 11 Spectrogram. Putting the audio of Disc 11 into a spectrogram reveals an image of Steve's head as well as the number 1241A. The number is C418's signature since C in hexadecimal is a 12. K14 Spectrogram. Much like Disc 11, K14 also has an image when put into a spectrogram, though this time it's the iconic creeper face. Moon phase events. Certain phases of the moon can have subtle effects on mobs. The frequencies of slime spawning in swamps is proportional to how much of the moon can be seen. So a new moon spawns no slimes, whilst they spawn the most frequently during a full moon. A fuller moon also increases the chances for skeletons and zombies to pick up items and spawn with weapons and armor, as well as increasing the chances for spiders to spawn with status effects such as invisibility. Lastly, during a full moon, 50% of spawned cats will become black cats. PC Gamer Demo. A demo version of Beta 1.3 that was found in the June 2011 version of PC Gamer magazine. The demo was 5 days long and special features included a giant wool PC Gamer logo, a bonus chest, a secret chest underneath spawn containing 22 gunpowder, and cow textures having the PC Gamer logo on them. There was a bug that allowed the player to continue interacting with the world even after the demo by going at or above y equals 89. Incurable zombies. The player is able to cure zombie villagers, yet regular zombies cannot be cured. Perhaps because they're too far gone to be cured, or maybe they were just never alive to begin with. Brick pyramids. A 32-block high pyramid added during in-dev to experiment with structure generation as well as providing resources of bricks to the player that was inaccessible at that point in time. These massive structures spawned at the exact same coordinates every time, regardless of what seed you would put in. Monoliths. Huge pillars of terrain stretching to the height limit that appeared as a terrain glitch in InDev due to a bug with the Perlin noise generation, hence with the same thing as the Farlands essentially. Monsters under your bed. Before Minecraft 1.0, when mobs were able to spawn in the dark areas for the first time, there was a chance that a mob was to suddenly spawn and wake you up before the night was over if your bed was in an unlit area. This gave the impression that the monster popped out from underneath your bed. This was an intentional feature, not a glitch, because even Notch joked about this happening on several different occasions. Giant fossils. Underneath the desert and mesa biomes, as well as soul sand valleys in the nether, you can find giant skeletal rib cages, bones, and other form of bone-like structures that may have once belonged to dinosaurs or some other giant beast that used to roam the Minecraft world. For example, something like the giant zombie. Quantum chest. A single chest block can store 27 stacks of items, or 1,728 items in total. Realistically, this is completely illogical. A chest that can store several stacks of blocks inside of a space of only a single block. The only explanation for this is that all chests lead into some form of infinite quantum space. Ender chests may have been a result of earlier civilizations discovering this and exploiting it to have the chest same the same quantum spaces. The end dimension is an asteroid belt. Seeing how there's chunks of rocks floating in an endless void, there is a good chance that the end takes place somewhere on an asteroid belt far high up in space above the actual Minecraft world. If it's in space though, why doesn't Steve run out of air at all? How does this never actually affect him until he falls past negative Y level? Cave ambience crash sounds. The sounds that play randomly to indicate unexplored caves seem to replay what may have been a horrific minecart/train crash in a mine shaft. Cave sounds 1 to 16 are the sounds of whistling, steam being released, and the wheels are rolling across the rails. Cave sounds 17 and 18 stand out, however, as they seem to play the sounds of two minecarts ramming into each other, and one of the carts subsequently getting derailed and falling. Cave sound 2 is described by some to be analytic humming. Shadow seeds. All Java seeds have a shadow, or a second seed that shares the exact same biome map, but different terrain generation and different structure locations. Venom's made a video discussing this on July 18th, 2020. Woodland Mansion Cult. Secret rooms in the Woodland Mansion contain idols, a meeting room with a map, gel cells, and as well as a fake ender portal indicating the villagers have some form of ultimate goal behind the scenes. There's also a room full of blue wool, the same colors as Minecraft Steve's shirt and pants. Post-apocalyptic future. A theory that Steve is the sole survivor of a mutated wasteland, hence why there are so many undead creatures prowling the landscape. Villagers are probably also mutants themselves, forced to rebuild civilization from scratch after all technology was wiped out. Flying squids. While the velocity of a squid is supposed to stop once it reaches the surface of the water, a bug in the squid's code when it was first released in Beta 1.2 meant the squid could keep just going upwards, eventually swimming into the air. Other squid bugs include the ability to be milked, a result from copying the AI from cows, as well as the inability to swim upwards, leading to each squid eventually gathering near the bottom of lakes and oceans. Ancient debris are fossilized trees. The texture for ancient debris seems to have some bark on the sides and rings on top, just suggesting that it may have been the petrified/fossilized remains of some durable species of ancient trees. The texture could also simply be pillar blocks from long-forgotten buildings made entirely of netherite. Wake up! Him.html. During a stream with Brocraft streamer Padamus, where he saw Herobrine in a pool of lava, another stream named Cooperland posted links in chat leading to this website. All that's on the page is a gif of Steve's head with frantically moving eyeballs, as well as a mess of symbols and letters. By connecting only the letters, you get the wake up messages, which say that the victims of tortures can sometimes retreat into a fantasy world from which they cannot wake up from. Guardians are mechanical. There are a lot of things that suggest that Guardians were most likely created by some other species. They have retractable spikes that make them seem like sea mines. They're made up of prismarine and they shoot lasers from their eyes, and their only purpose is to guard the ocean monuments. The same species that created the Guardians likely also created the monuments. Furthermore, the official mobdustry actually confirms the Guardians are made up of mechanical parts. Removed horse armor recipe. For just 2 snapshots in the 1.6.1 update, horse armor could be crafted by surrounding 6 iron ingots, gold ingots, or diamonds around a block of wool. It's unknown why these recipes were removed, though one reason could be that horse armor doesn't break, so it'd fit better as a loot chest item. Leather horse armor can still be crafted with 7 leather, however, it was first added to the PE and Windows 10 edition on June 13th, 2016, gradually being added to other versions before finally being added to Java edition in the 1.14 update. That is the end of the 4th layer. I hope you've enjoyed your stay, and let's move on to layer 5. Welcome to the 5th layer, everybody. We're ready to continue to dive into this iceberg. You might have taken a break between the last layer and this one. You might be watching it all in one session. Either way, let's continue. Alpha Snow Worlds. Winter mode was a randomly occurring map type that turned the entire world snowy, technically acting as the first biome in Minecraft besides regular plains. Besides snowfall, oceans were frozen over and animals spawned less frequently. Indev House. When players started on a map in the in-depth version of Minecraft, their spawn location was always in a 7x7 house made of mossy cobblestone, a block that couldn't be acquired naturally anywhere else. These houses contained chests filled with a stack of every block and an item in the game. A stack used to be 99 items. In later versions, these chests were removed and the houses were updated to be made of planks and have a floor made of stone. Ruby Dung. An unreleased game Notch made before Minecraft based on the Dwarf Fortress. The name stood for Rubyland's Dungeons. Rubylands began the game world that Notch envisioned. The grass and cobblestone texture that were in that game were later reused in Minecraft as Notch tried to make a first-person version of the game. The Mog Miner Minecraft Incident. The Mog Miner, aka Ryan Holtz, was a game developer at Mojang working on the rendering engine for Minecraft. On the 18th of December 2013, the Mog Miner joined an unaffiliated Minecraft server, assuming it was the official one, and promptly released his anger both in the server and on Twitter when he didn't receive his proper donation rank since he donated $500 to Guide prior to joining. Chat logs seemed to show him swearing at the mods and using his Mojang status to demand for server rank. Sometime around January 29th, 2015, the Mog Miner was no longer an employee at Mojang. Footsteps. A particle that was introduced in beta 1.5, though it was never used. It could still be created via command blocks, however, the particle was removed in 1.13 due to the flattening. Footsteps were immortalized as part of the April Fool's Day's 2020 Infinity Update, inside a chest guarded by iron golems. There's another Easter egg in this dimension, as underneath the stairs leading to the chest in a sign saying, "This is not a sign," as a reference to the phrase, "Selek nia kaz pipe," or "This is not a pipe," in Renegade Margaretta's The Treachery of Images, depicting paintings of a pipe. Dolphin animal cruelty. Mojang refused to add the ability to make dolphins rideable, claiming that it was animal cruelty even though pigs have been rideable for so many years. Sharks won't get into the game for more or less the same reasons. One of the reasons is that Mojang believes it would lead people to believe sharks in the real world are hostile, which also makes sense since almost all the hostile mobs currently in the game are fantasy based and only the real life ones are only hostile when provoked. But why Mojang doesn't want dolphins to be rideable is still a mystery, however. Skull painting Hillseed. The Minecraft terrain in the background of the skull on fire painting actually comes from a real Minecraft world, which was found by a user named Kamusta on September 10th, 2020. The world is from before 1.1.2, and the seed is negative 10, 44, 88, 79, 56, 65, 136, 30, 87, or negative 69, 84, 85, 43, 91, 76, 33, 66, 55, since both seeds result in the same world. Coordinates are x equals negative 250, z equals negative 30. I'll leave the document link down in the description if you want a detailed description on how the seed was found in the first place. The Fatherlands. The second set of Farlands that generated 80 times further than the first set and 1,4,065,811 blocks away from spawn. And Venom made a video on it back in 2018, which the Snow QR code. Mojang hid multiple QR codes in the months leading up to the 1.9 update. The 1.9 screenshots by Siraj, for instance, had 5 fragments of QR codes scattered across the pictures, so the end result was a Steam code for the indie game The Move. The Love and Hugs update for April Fool's 2015 had another QR code. However, near x equals 0 and z 0, there is a patch of land where some blocks will never have snow fall on them. This area eventually forms the shape of a QR code, which when scanned says Minecraft 1.9, the combat update. China appeasement. Some people speculate that the reasons why sharks aren't getting added to Minecraft and dolphins aren't being made rideable is in order to appease China, as the Chinese river dolphin is actually critically endangered, and China launched a massive campaign in 2011 to spread awareness on the shark fin consumption in attempts to reduce the numbers of sharks killed for their fins, alongside the fact that Minecraft China is a free version of Bedrock Minecraft with a whopping 300 million players. players. There's only 180 million paid copies everywhere else in the world. It makes sense why Mojang would want to cater to this player base a bit more than the rest. Ravengers are mutated villagers. Ravenger mobs share quite a few similarities with Minecraft villagers, including green eyes, a unibrow, and a tendency to make grunting noises. One theory states that pillagers take prisons from their raids in order to mutate them into killing machines. Ravengers could also be simply the pillagers' version of an iron golem, though they don't drop iron nuggets like they do. Zero-tick farms. Zero-tick pulses were a bug that allowed a redstone signal to turn on and off the same tick. One simple way to make a zero-tick machine would be to have a repeater powering a block and a comparator activating a piston to move the block, depowering in this process. Since comparators are prioritized after repeaters, the output will first turn on, then turn off, all on the same tick. When activating a piston using a zero-tick pulse, push blocks essentially teleport instantly, which also allowed the dirt to be moved under crops without them popping off. This could also be exploited for farm. Minecraft's code for crops contained a single procedure that both determined when to go to the next growth stage, as well as to check for the block underneath it as dirt. By using a zero-tick piston to continuously move dirt blocks under these crops, the check process occurred, but this also tricked them into growing into the next growing stage, thus making the incredibly fast farms. The zero-tick bug was fixed in 1.16. Isometric screenshots. In the in-depth versions of Minecraft, pressing F7 would allow you to take an isometric screenshot of the map, rendering mobs as well as any changes made to the world. There are a couple of bugs with this though. For one, player would only be rendered if you were in third person beforehand, and blocks were only rendered if they were in your field of vision. Ashes to Ashes. A creepypasta involving two audio files found in an unassuming folder during the 2010 Halloween update. Ashes1ashes.ogg and ashes2ashes.ogg. The first clip only has clicking. The second clip seems to be of a man sobbing. Nothing to solve. There is a hidden book in the llama dimension of the Infinity update that all only says, nothing to solve. Wool armor. In dev, before leather armor was a thing, cloth armor could be crafted from wool. The texture for this armor set was taken from one of Notch's earlier games, The Legend of the Chambered. 27 DAQA accounts. There used to be 72 accounts with the same name, DAQA. They have since been deleted, however. One theory is that DAQA stands for Dev Account Quality Assurance, though there's never been any form of official explanation. Vatican Minecraft server. At the start of December 2019, Robot Balaka, aka Padre SJ, or the Digital J-Suit, launched a Minecraft server in the Vatican, aimed at creating a toxic-free community. Only a short time after going live, the server was hit with griefing, DDoS attacks, and more. Padre SJ revealed that this was simply a test world to see which IP addresses would be responsible for potential attacks. On December 4th, 2019, the official Vatican's Minecraft server launched. Minecraft 4K. A version of Minecraft made in December 2009 for the 2010 Java 4K contest, which challenged programmers to make a game using just 4 kilobytes or 4096 bytes of data. For reference, Java Edition in its current state is 180 megabytes, or 180 million bytes, excluding storage taken up by worlds, which could increase this by several additional gigabytes. Only 6 blogs exist in this version of the game: grass, dirt, stone, bricks, leaves, and wood. Elytra origins. Elytra is a term for the hardened forewings, commonly found on bugs such as beetles, that cover the actual wings, though they can still be used for gliding. The wings in Minecraft may have rotten away due to how delicate they are, leaving only the outer shell. Phantoms may be the evolved version, or at least a descendant, of the beetles that the Elytra came from, since the wings can be repaired with phantom membrane. However, this must mean that phantoms are real manifestations rather than hallucinations generated via insomnia. Entity. Hanging. The most likely answer is that entity.hanging was the original designation name for the sounds leads that were made when they were replaced and broken, though these sounds were removed in 1.9. Then again, entity hanging.place was added in at the same time as entity leash not.place, so maybe not? Fortunately, there really is no good explanation for this random sound name that was there for a brief period of time but then suddenly disappeared. Steve Villager Hybrid. After villagers were added, a texture file could be found that seemed to be the combine of the skin of Steve with the body of a villager. It was removed back in 1.5, but it was definitely an interesting sight to behold. Stabby McStabface. The isolation dimension of the Minecraft Infinity update is home to a single villager, Bob, and his 3 dogs. Signs placed outside of his house say "Ingen reklam tag," Swedish for "no advertisement please," and "go away." A hidden chest underneath his home contains rotten flesh, bones, and a sword named Stabby McStabface, suggesting that Bob may have used this sword to murder and bury someone. It could have been a second inhabitant to the dimension, or even a visitor to this dimension. That is the end of layer 5. You would have probably noticed these layers are starting to get smaller and smaller in parts, mainly due to the fact that we're starting to get to the more hidden stuff, the more unique stuff that there is a lot less of in the darker deep depths of the iceberg. Welcome to the 6th layer of the Minecraft iceberg. I hope you enjoy your break if you had one. Either way, let's get right back into it. Rescue a ghast from the nether. The wording of the description of the Uneasy Alliance advancement makes it sound like ghasts are involuntarily trapped in the nether, or at least they do not belong there. So I guess it leads to a question of a potential theory on what were they actually meant to be, where were they actually meant to be, where did they come from? Legend of the Chambearded. A retro-styled first-person RPG created by Notch sometime before May of 27th, 2008. The old texture for leather armor as well as the textures for apple, iron sword, and quiver were all taken from this game. There's also Prelude of the Chambered, which Notch made in 48 hours for the London Dare 21st competition in August 2011. Steve is a god. How is Steve able to carry so much in his inventory without losing any form of speed? How can he jump a whole meter effortlessly and run almost twice as fast as the average person like it was nothing? Why is he the only one of his kind in this world? How can he go from absolutely nothing to slaying a cosmic being in the vacuum of space in the matter of just days? How can he even punch wood and actually be able to turn it into wooden planks and craft swords out of full-on wood? The entire character of Steve and all the things that he is apparently capable of in the game of Minecraft leads up to many different questions that may potentially lead to the knowledge that Steve is potentially a god. A hollow world. Despite being 8 times the size of the Earth, the Minecraft player doesn't experience 8 Gs of force. In fact, gravity is arguably less than what it is on Earth, explaining how Steve can effortlessly jump meter-high blocks and run without tiring. The reason for the reduced gravity is most likely because of a vast majority of the world is actually hollow. The Earth's crust is 35 kilometers thick, and the distance to the center of the Earth is 6,371 kilometers. But the distance from Minecraft's sea level to the bedrock is a mere 62 meters. The void may not actually be a bottomless pit, but a large expanse of darkness in the middle of a massive artificial planet. Pumpkins contain souls. A theory that the reason snow golems and iron golems immediately come to life after placing a pumpkin on their head is because they're imbued with souls, or at the very least soul energy. All natural spawning pumpkins prior to 1.13 had faces already carved into them, which could suggest that they are much more than just regular old pumpkins. Zombie Town. An old game by Notch, made sometime around October 30th, 2009. It was meant to be as a sequel to Left 4K Dead, a game Notch made for the 2009 Java 4K contest that actually won. The only footage of this game shows humans who were later repurposed as Minecraft Steve frolicking around in an empty field. The Minecraft zombie likely also came from this game. SCP-4335. An SCP article about an anomalous entity that was found in a Minecraft world a week after the first alpha version. It is pure black with tendrils protruding from its back. The SCP is contained in a series of cubes made of 4 layers of iron blocks and a layer of obsidian in the middle. It consumes the loot generated from mob farms located around the cubes, keeping it immobile as it cannot move while consuming. In the event SCP-4335 attempts to breach its containment center, the ceiling breaks open to release lava. Looking at SCP-4335 may cause your perception of reality to be altered. SCP-4335 is an eldritch abomination from a higher plane that wishes to get rid of creation. Since it defines creations as something made by a sentient being, the entity wasn't able to see our world. It only saw the virtual world. Endermen were later added to Minecraft. Unused chair texture. Notch's old blog showed that he intended to add chairs to Minecraft alongside doors, ladders, and signs. 2 chair textures were also added in the files for the side view and the front view. These textures were removed a few months later. Mineshafts ignore ores. Even though the main purpose of a mineshaft is, well, for mining, all of them seem to completely ignore the ores around them. This suggests that these tunnels weren't created for collecting resources. They may have been used for transportation or possibly to hide from an unknown danger on the surface. Almost all of the mine shafts are completely empty. Basalt deltas radiation. Ambient sounds in the basalt deltas biome, including clicking noises, which sound very similar to the sounds of Geiger counters. These sounds could potentially imply that the biome is radioactive. In addition, the ash particles in the biome could be instead some form of radioactive fallout rather than the volcanic ash, or it could even be a mix of the two. Human mobs. A spawnable mob version of Steve that existed from pre-classic to classic. They were named monsters in the code. While walking, they would flail their arms around randomly in the air. In later versions of pre-classic, they had the ability to attack the player. SKISPNG. A texture for a pair of skins that were added in the 1.4.6 update on the 20th of December 2012, that was also included in snapshots dating all the way back to April 2012. They were referenced by Dinnerbone on Twitter, though he implied that the skins were simply a joke addition. Calm 4. An upbeat synth tune that was added in alpha version 1.1.1 but removed in alpha version 1.1.2. Around 1 minute and 36 seconds into the track, Notch can be heard saying Mojang specifications but sped down. Mojang specifications was the former full name of Mojang from 2009 to 2010. Vexes are lost souls. Vexes, the winged creatures spawned by evokers, may actually be souls trapped and forced to fight against their will. While summoning a mob usually means creating it out of thin air, to evoke, in the context of the paranormal, is to call on upon a spirit or deity, suggesting that Vexes have already existed prior to being called upon. While it could be argued that Vexes are part of some form of demonic army acquired through the pack, see the Woodland Mansion Cult, the other likely explanation that they could be souls of the villagers slain during raids. Obsidian walls. A 2-block high obsidian structure that generated along the X and or Z axis during Instead. It only existed from February 27th to March 13th, 2010. Unused ghast scream. Ghasts have a sound called the affectionate scream, which was added in 1.1 but never actually used. This sound is a much more higher pitched one than the others. Wolves also have 2 unused howling noises. Ghasts are mechanical. According to a diagram in the official mobdistry, ghasts have an internal mechanism that allows them to shoot fireballs. Piglins used ruined portals and became zombified. Piglins in the Nether may have created their own obsidian portals in order to explore the overworld, only to find out that it rots their flesh. The zombified piglins then went back to their homeworld, destroying the portals on the other side. Where piglins got the obsidian in the first place, however, is a different question in its own. Old Root. An RNG that started on the Minecraft subreddit in 2014 by user Old Root that is still unsolved to this day. A full archive of what's been solved so far can be found on the r/oldroot subreddit, which hasn't had a new post on it for over 4 years. That is the end of Layer 6. I hope you are enjoying your stay so far as we go over that hour mark. Either way, let's move on. Welcome to the 7th layer of the Minecraft Iceberg. Let's continue. Warped Forest Help Sounds. Sometime ambient sounds in the Warped Forest biome have the name Warped Forest Help and Warped Forest Here, showing odd Enderman noises and sounds of distress. It's likely they are attempting to communicate to the player about something, much like they already do with their backward speech. Shared Bedrock Pattern. In Java Edition, the pattern of the bedrock floor underneath the overworld is the same as every world regardless of what seed you use, though in Bedrock it's only the nether ceiling that is actually consistent. This consistent pattern can be exploited, as has been done several different times in 2B2T to pinpoint the coordinates of a base through a picture of just a few blocks of bedrock. A similar exploit can also be done on Netherrack. The game rotates the block textures to make patterns seem a little more natural, though the orientation is dependent on the location of the block. Emerald Sickness. A theory that illagers and pillagers came about by them becoming so greedy for emeralds that they rather kill one another for them instead of trading, twisting the mind and the soul in the process. Grey Prototype Creepers. A picture of the early prototype creepers, the result of a mistake causing the pig mold to have its bodies taller than what it was long, was posted by Notch on August 31st, 2009. The texture in the models appears to be some form of desaturated clay or sand, or perhaps a new texture entirely. Birds Screaming. An audio loop that was added into the classic version of Minecraft on May 28, 2009. It was intended to be played when the player was in a forest. Though forests in real life often have birds chirping, Minecraft didn't have any birds with the exceptions of chickens until parrots were added in the game in the 1.12 update. Air.ogg. Part of a streaming project by BOQ, a developer at Mojang, it was hosted here. Using the SSTV to convert the sounds to an image, you get what's shown in the layer 5 image on the chart. It's paraphrased that leads you to the 43rd hidden dimension in the Infinity update. This is a very long phrase that hopefully is not in any dictionary. Alpha Slabs and Leaves. Alpha slabs, also called wooden slabs, were an earlier version of wood slabs that existed from beta 1.3.1 to beta 1.7.10. They were identical to a stone slab in terms of footsteps, sound, and tool required to break them, as well as an invulnerability to fire, except for they had the wood plank texture. As the game updated, Mojang made a new slab called the oak wood slab, but left the alpha slab ID in the game. As a result, there was an identical looking wooden slab with different IDs for several updates. In 1.8, the wooden slab shows as a missing texture in the inventory. See missing texture block. In 1.13, the wooden slab texture was brought back, but the name was changed to petrified oak slab due to its stone slab properties. Alpha leaves have a similar history, with that texture in the inventory being a nominally large missing texture block obtained by starting a beta 1.2 world, grabbing them for Silk Touch Tick in release 1.0, and then updating to a later version. In 1.13, alpha leaves were converted to regular oak leaves. Wandering traders are nitwits. The undershirt of a wandering trader is green, matching that of a nitwit's shirt. It's likely that some nitwits left their villages in order to find their true calling, selling exotic goods from rare locals. Their poor trade may just be a result of laziness or below average intelligence. It's also likely that they're just scam artists, but a nitwit may not be smart enough to even attempt such a thing. Dead Star. Whilst there has been post-apocalyptic theories in the past, this theory states that the Minecraft world doesn't actually take place on Earth at all. Taking place far into the future, where the sun has reached its entropic death, humans decided to create their own artificial sun by turning the Earth into a heat source, while civilization migrated over the cold remains of the dead sun to start anew. The artificial planet could explain why Minecraft world is still abundantly ripe with resources and why there's only a few feet of soil above a layer of rock. Enchanting table is futuristic technology. The text for the enchanting table is the standard galactic alphabet, suggesting that it might potentially be some form of futuristic tech. Alternate redstone. Before redstone was added to the Minecraft Pocket Edition, players found ways to create signals using blocks that they had, often sand and cactus. This is because of a mechanic that forces a cactus to pop off if it's adjacent to another block at any time. By placing a line of signs on top of the cacti, then pulling sand blocks on top of the signs, one could make the sand blocks fall down on demand by placing a block next to the cactus. This basic contraption is used for making falling sand doors, as well as having the sand blocks trigger yet another cactus signal to create a chain of them. Minecraft Pocket Edition Crater. Before caves were added to the Pocket Edition, a seed called Portia generated an incredibly deep crater, complete with a lava waterfall and a lake at the bottom of this crater. Pillagers created and armed piglins. They both have crossbows for one. This theory could also explain why regular pigs turn into zombified piglins when exposed to lightning. Villagers may have experimented on pigs, and found that they could make humanoid monsters. After realizing that zombified piglins don't make good servants, they were all likely banished to the nether like it was a garbage bin. Mushroom Island nuclear test. Mushroom Islands stand out a lot in the terms of overworld biomes. They contain a type of grass, mycelium, obtainable nowhere else, as well as the mutated mushroom cows. In addition, no hostile mobs spawn there, giving it a peaceful yet desolate feel. Since these biomes are almost always exclusively islands, it's likely that these sites were used by earlier civilizations to test nuclear weapons away from the mainland, and the radiation led to extinction and mutation of the species that remained. The mushroom theme of the islands could thus be symbolically linked to the mushroom clouds generated by nuclear explosions. The wither is imperfect. The current wither is formed by only a few blocks of soul sand and 3 wither skulls. That doesn't really seem like much to summon what is apparently an incredibly powerful entity, not to mention the fact that the wither is just a floating torso without any limbs. Steve probably doesn't know the proper way to summon the perfect wither, and instead is going off of what the wither painting depicts. Though it's not canon, Minecraft Story Mode Season's 1 main antagonist was the Witherstorm, a much stronger version of the wither summoned with a command block in the middle of the soul sand. Pocket Edition Invisible Fire. When fire was first added to Minecraft Pocket Edition, it was completely invisible save for the smoke particles it produced. In addition, it had an absurdly high fire spread and had the ability to burn up non-flammable blocks such as dirt and stone. Droopy Likes Your Face. A song in the Minecraft Alpha Edition with some strange audio samples taken from a text-to-speech reader by Texas Instruments called the Magic Wand Speak and Learn, which could scan barcodes to read certain children's books out loud, including a book called The Droopy Dragon. Other Droopy-related songs by C418 includes Droopy Likes Ricochet and Droopy Remembers. Pre-classic censored videos. Notch created a tech test for Cave Game on May 13th, 2009, though it's blocked in most countries for unknown reasons. The rest of the videos on his channel, Nizarach, seem to also be censored too. Golden Oak. A rare bug in Pocket Edition that causes spruce trees at the edge of a snowy biome to take the shape of an oak tree. Its name is probably a reference to the golden oak, a species of oak trees. We have now reached the end of the 7th layer. Are you ready to join me on the journey through the 8th and final layer of the Minecraft Iceberg? Either way, let's continue on. Welcome to the 8th and final layer of the iceberg, where the deepest and darkest and unknown theory can be found. Are you ready for the final journey of this video? If so, strap up and let's begin. Mob spawner large patch light trees. A theory that attempts to explain the origin of mob spawners. It claims there used to be a race of creatures that were experts in magic. To search for immortality, they bound their souls to machines locked away in dungeons with the hopes that they would regenerate their body once they became old and frail. Of course, as they grew older, their souls decayed more and their new bodies decayed to match. Unable to stop the machines, those that bound their souls became stuck in a perpetual and agonizing cycle of rot, leading to the zombies and skeletons that we find in mob spawners to this very day. Steve is in a coma. A few parts of Minecraft could point to the fact that Steve has actually been in a coma over the course of the game, and having to face his past. Most of the undead mobs in the game share Steve's face. For instance, he also doesn't dream whenever he goes to sleep, probably because he's already in one himself. The strongest piece of evidence for this theory, however, is the end poll. Besides comparing life as a long dream versus the short dream of the game, the last line of the end credits instructs the player to wake up. The dimensions in Minecraft could also represent the different stages of subconsciousness. The overworld is surface level subconsciousness, where the imagination thrives and memories are kept in order. It represents the present. The never, on the other hand, represents the traumas and the regrets of our past. It symbolizes the chaotic part in our subconsciousness, housing our fears, instincts, motives, and urges. The last dimension, the end, is the most naive and unknowing part of our mind. It represents the future, challenging and slaying the Ender Dragon. The final conflict is what allows Steve to accept his past and move on. The dragon drops an egg, a symbol of creation and rebirth, of getting another chance at life. Blocks in the end feel pain. In Minecraft's The End 10 Things You Probably Didn't Know About Minecraft video, it's revealed that all blocks in the end can feel pain whenever mined. Ancient debris came from a reactor explosion. A theory stating that instead of debris being ancient trees, the debris is actually the metal of the scraps from the aftermath of a huge reactor explosion that subsequently gave birth to the Nether Dimension, much like the Nether reactor core from the early Pocket Edition days, just on a far larger scale. Soul Sand Valley White Pumpkins. A rumor when the Nether update first came out, saying that Soul Sand was able to be tilled, producing a new crop called White Pumpkins as a nod to story mode. Mojang made a home for Herobrine. A theory that the unknown entity known as Herobrine has manifested in other forms for much longer than Minecraft's existence. And the game itself is just a way to keep Herobrine confined to one single place. 1.rv data collection. Rumor about the 1.rv April Fool's update saying that a lot of the features from the update, especially the anchor monitor, are experimental ways to test out the data collection on players, and that there were even more data outside of the features that were being recorded in the code. Don't look at the moon. It's not exactly about not looking at the moon. There is a rumor that there is a code in Minecraft that checks whether or not you're looking at the moon, and experiments were made to test it out, having some disastrous effects, such as shadow entities being set on fire and potentially world corruption. And that brings us to the end of our journey for today. Whilst I apologize for the lack of visuals for probably the later half of the video, this was already a long enough thing to put together, and I kinda wanted just to have it completely done, kinda thing, you know? Anyhow, if you did end up enjoying this video and you've watched all the way to this point, I would highly appreciate it if you let me know what your thoughts are on how I took this route with this Iceberg video, how I made it in my own form of way, down in the comments down below, as well as leaving a like would be highly appreciated. And if you do want to hear more from me, then make sure to subscribe, as that would be highly appreciated. Either way, until next time, I've been Crusair, and goodbye.